All right, let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining our webinar today. There's going to be an open forum for questions at the end of the presentation, but if you do have questions throughout the call, there's a dialog box on the right side of your screen, and Randy Walker from our sales engineer group is on the line. He's our technical resource, so he can answer any questions you have as we go along. And today's topic is getting better postage discounts with walk sequence. My name is Kristen Gregerson. I'm the Data Services Manager here. I've spoken with a few of you before. I see a lot of West Coast people on the call. Not many West Coast folks were brave enough to do our 8 a.m. call this morning. And I see a few Midwest and East Coast folks as well, so thank you. Thank you for joining. So we've been doing the summer webinar series now for about a month and a half. It's been really successful. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from our customers, and really the overall purpose is to provide our clients with information to help them better their mailing process or be more competitive in their marketplace. So a lot of value-add information. So today's topic originated from the fact that we had a lot of feedback from our customers that they were either looking to save money in postage they were either looking to save money in postage, or they were looking to help their clients save more money. So really that's what the topic is centered around today. So let's start out with a quote from one of our customers who currently uses walk sequence, and we'll talk more about what that actually means for you later on. So he said, Ryan Paterick said that by using the walk sequence add-on, our standard mailing price per piece is more competitive, and the savings potential on some mailers is simply amazing. And if I can remember correctly, we ran some sample files for Ryan about 6 months ago, and he saved around $7,000 on one mailing alone, so pretty significant. So let's talk about what we're going to learn today. We're going to start at the basics, the categories of automation discounts. We're going to talk about optimizing savings potential. We'll discuss the myths and misconceptions about better rates. We'll talk about who can qualify or what can qualify, the benefits, and how to use the service. So we've got people with all sorts of different levels of knowledge regarding automation requirements or discounts on the line today, so we're going to start with the very basics. So for standard mail, in order to qualify for automation bulk rates, you have to have at least 200 pieces to a mailing. And that is for both letters and flats. For first-class mail, you have to have at least 500 pieces, and that's for letters, postcards, and flats. And then periodicals only require one bundle, which is typically about 5 pieces. Typical automation price brackets or discounts start with 5-digit. You must have 150 pieces or more going to the same 5-digit zip code. So 150 pieces completes a tray. Now for 3-digit, you have to have 150 pieces or more going to the same first 3 digits of several zip codes. So for example, we're in downtown Seattle and our zip code's 98101. The 3-digit will qualify for pieces going to 98101, 98102, 98103, and so on and so forth. So as long as you have those 150 pieces, you can get that price bracket. Now automated area distribution center, you have to have 150 pieces or more going to a general distribution center. So it's a mix of several zip codes. So essentially anything that doesn't qualify fit into the trays for the 5-digit and 3-digit would get pushed into the AADC trays. And then for mixed AADC, that's anything that's left over that's under 150 pieces. So the pieces that can't complete a tray. So now that we've talked about the different classes of mail, the different qualification price breaks, let's talk about some entry points. So an NDC is a network distribution center. And an NDC is strategically located to serve a region as a centralized mail processing and transfer point for 2 or more SCF areas. And then an SCF is a sectional center facility, which is a postal facility that serves as a processing and distribution center for 1 to 5 3-digit zip code areas. So you get better discounts by going directly to these centers, simply because if you drop your mailing off at the local post office and they're not one of these regional centers, they will then transfer your mail to one of these points. So with the post office, the more work you do for them, the more of a discount they'll give you, and the same goes to where you take your mailing. And the reason you would get better discounts through an SCF is because they're closer to most of the final destination points. So there's more SCF facilities than NDC. So if you're able to physically take your pieces to the SCF, you can get better rates. There's 2 more discount levels after all these pieces of information. These are discounts that the majority of mailers are not actively trying to obtain on every mailing. The pay pre-sort process does not append walk sequence data, which is necessary to get the deepest discounts, high density, and or saturation. So you either have walk sequence numbers on your list or you don't. If you don't have walk sequence numbers, the PAVE system will not give you those numbers. The walk sequence database, or DSF squared, and the PAVE database are entirely separate. So if you do have the walk sequence numbers on your list, you can pre-sort for high density or saturation rates. But if you don't, we're going to discuss how to get these discounts and how to get the data needed to properly do that pre-sort. So what exactly are high density and saturation discounts? How do you qualify for them? So high density is actually a lot easier to obtain than saturation. You just have to have 125 pieces or more to a carrier route. And carrier routes can have thousands of addresses. So that one I see customers qualify for most often. And then saturation is 75% of carrier route that has businesses and residential addresses, or 90% of a purely residential carrier route. So I don't know if anyone on this call is currently doing some political and election mailings, but those specifically are great examples of mailings that will qualify for saturation, because those typically go only to residential addresses. And so if you're targeting a certain district, for example, you're probably going to hit that 90% of purely residential carrier routes. You'll definitely hit the high density, but saturation can give you an even better discount rate, and we'll talk about what that is here in the next slide. So these discounts qualify for periodicals and standard mail letters and flats, but first-class mail does not qualify. So if you only do first-class mail, the rest of this presentation is probably not going to be very applicable to you. Just wanted to warn you now. So let's talk about how much deeper the discounts go. So for standard mail letters, you're going to save at least 4.3 cents per piece. For standard mail flats, you can save up to 15.6 cents per piece and a minimum of 12 cents per flat. So it's at a minimum, if your standard mail flats qualify, there's a 12-cent savings. So as you can see, this can quickly add up to thousands of dollars annually. And these price differences are over regular 5-digit automation rates. I'll show you a chart here in a second that kind of explains how that works. So let's take into consideration standard mail letters. If we look to the right side here, we have the 5-digit automation rates, which are 24 cents per piece, roughly, if you're taking it just to your local post office, so none of the distribution centers. And look over to the left. If you reach the high-density price break, you can quickly see the discounts start accelerating there very, very fast. And then if you go to even an SCF, you can see the discount levels. Ultimately, you could end up saving about 10 cents per piece if you went from just regular 5-digit automation going to a local post office to, if you qualified for saturation, going to an SCF. So this just gives you an idea of the savings potential, which really is quite large if your mailings qualify. And then taking into consideration standard mail flats, Like I said, you save at least 12 cents per piece. It's roughly almost about 13 cents per piece. You can dramatically reduce your rates almost by half, just depending on what your pieces qualify for and where you're taking the mailing. So what about every door direct mail, right? We all know the post office is pushing this pretty heavily right now. They are trying to increase their volume with the companies who typically don't do mailings. And so they're advertising in all sorts of random magazines. I know our director of marketing saw an advertisement for EDDM in one of her women's magazines. So they're really trying to put the word out there and get people who don't typically do direct mail to start using it. And the USPS has an initiative just to increase their overall volumes. So every door direct mail is designed for flat size mail pieces. There's no names or addresses. It's only postal routes. So let's say, for example, you get a coupon from a local pizza company in your neighborhood. Maybe you might open that. But let's say, for example, you're a nonprofit and you're trying to reach specific people and you end up doing an every door direct mail. Is everyone going to open that piece if they don't really know who you are? Probably not the best option, simply because it's very impersonalized and it's not the right solution for every mailing. It does work great on some mailings, but more targeted mailings, I would not say this is a good option. And the difference between EDDM and walk sequence append is that with EDDM you have to generate a list of postal routes, whereas with walk sequence append you have to already have a list. So you just append the walk sequence data to a list. It's not going to generate a list for you. So there's some misconceptions about saturation and high density discounts that I want to go ahead and discuss. A lot of people think that their entire list has to qualify, like as if you were purchasing a saturation list from a mailing list company. This is false. You can have segments of a list that can qualify, and the savings can still be huge. There's a customer locally here in Seattle that we work with who has about 50 to 60% of their pieces per mailing qualify, and they're saving about $25,000 a year. So it's not every single address in a list that has to fall into a very specific route or zip code. Another misconception is that the list is too small to qualify, which is false. Qualification solely depends on the amount of pieces you have in a route, not on the size of the list as a whole. So you could very well have a 200-piece mailing that specifically targets a specific route or a specific area that could potentially save some money. Third misconception is that the entire database would have to be processed to get the savings, and that's false. You would not want to process your entire database. You would want to process on a per mailing basis for the top savings, because walk sequence data is appended on a per list basis, not a per address basis. So to get the best rates, you do per mailing. So we'll talk about what walk sequence actually means, but let's talk about how getting these better discounts would benefit your business. So if you are a mailing service provider, offering better rates than your competitors will help you to win more bids and more business overall. It's a huge competitive advantage because we know for a fact that not all of the mailing service providers out there are analyzing every list to see what the savings potential is. A lot of them are just running it at automation rates. So this gives you the opportunity to go in there with some prospects or even some of your customers and just give you an opportunity to better position yourself and better position your value. It's also a resell opportunity, so you would want to charge a service fee to your customer to do this. So for example, if they're saving $300 or $500 on their mailing, maybe you want to charge them $100 or $150 to do the service. Ultimately, this allows your customer or you to send more pieces, because if you're working under a very strict budget, like I know a lot of the government and city organizations have specific budgets set for postage, if you're able to save money in postage, you can free up money in the budget to send more pieces. And right now, everyone's looking to send out more volume, so this would give you an opportunity to do so. And ultimately, last but not least, someone's going to save money, whether it's you, your organization, or your customer. Someone's going to be saving money, and right now, just with the market the way it is, I know everyone's looking to cut costs, and this is a great way to do it. So the mailings that typically qualify are dense local mailings targeting zip codes, neighborhoods, cities, counties. So those would be mailings such as promotions for local businesses, election mailings, community service announcements, and utility notifications. So really, and those are just a few examples, but really anything that was targeting a very specific area would be worth running through the system to see if you can qualify. So let's talk about one of our customers. We're doing a case study right now with Thad. He's our client. He's an owner at Do Good Biz. He said that walk sequence makes us very competitive in the marketplace. Using walk sequence helps us save one of our customers $50,000 a year in postage. Now, Thad's customers aren't very large. 98% of his business is small mailers who are sending high-frequency mailings of about 200 to 2,000 pieces at a time. So relatively small. However, he works with the local businesses, government, and other neighborhood associations that specifically target an area. The customers are happy because they get to use their own lists, and Thad is happy because in terms of a competitive advantage, it has given him a way to go out and talk to some of the customers in the area, or maybe some of the prospects he's talked to before, to find new business. So this tool has actually helped him to win more bids and get more business, because he said to these organizations, listen, I can save you more money in postage than you're saving right now, and let me prove it. So what exactly is walk sequence? Walk sequence is the act of sorting a list into the order that a carrier walks their route for the day. So it's the actual physical walk that the carrier will take when they deliver the mail. So it's really just a refined pre-sort. It enables significant postage savings for qualifying mailings. And ultimately, the USPS will sort your mailing to walk sequence order. So like I mentioned before, the more work you can do for them, the higher the discount levels you get. So how does walk sequence work? The service will calculate the position for each address and appends a walk sequence number. The number is then used during the sort. So when you sort by carrier route WS in the pre-sort, and that will order the addresses and generate the correct paperwork. And the walk sequence number is unique to a list, like I mentioned before. It must be recalculated every 90 days. That is the USPS requirement. And not only that, you would want to do it anyway, because with the way that the USPS is changing all of their routes right now, consolidating, moving things around, and shutting down centers, the walk sequence numbers are changing all the time. And again, I mentioned before that you can't append walk sequence to a database and pull smaller lists from it, because the walk sequence numbers are specific to a list. So specific to the actual walk that carrier will take within that mailing. So how do you append walk sequence data? If you have bulk mailer, I know there's both bulk mailer customers on the call and some of our higher level API mailroom toolkit architect and infused customers. So we'll start with bulk mailer, which is our desktop program. Adding walk sequence to a job is really easy. It's all wizard-based and automated. Processing time, turnaround time is fast. It's 15 minutes on average. Really simple. So like the rest of bulk mailer, we try to make things as straightforward and easy as possible. We know everyone, is under time constraints, so the quicker we can make it for you, the easier it'll be for your life. So you can actually upload a list into this system, and then you can work on other jobs. So this isn't going to tie you up for 15 minutes. It's going to give you the opportunity to submit the list to us, and then we'll send you an email when it's done. And you just retrieve the data back directly in bulk mailer. So you're not sending your information outside the system. It's staying within the system and running over our secure connections, just like NCOA. And then to find out if your list actually qualifies, when you do the sort, you just change the pre-sort levels. So the first sort level would be carrier route WS, followed by automation, and then if you choose, non-automation. So you just pre-sort it and see if your mailing qualifies. If it does, you will have a new piece of paperwork, which will be Part C. So Part A would be your automation, Part B would be your non-automation, and then Part C would be your carrier route. And so you can see here this particular mailing qualified for both saturation and high density. So you can actually qualify for both levels. You don't have to just qualify for one or the other. It could be a mix. But like I mentioned, more oftentimes than not, people qualify for high density. This mailing specifically qualified for about 1,900 pieces high density and about 30 pieces saturation. So walk sequence is available in bulk mailer, professional, and business. It's not available in standard. We have data services credits or unlimited processing options. And the limited options really, really similar to Move Update. Our customers really like the structure of that add-on and requested something similar for walk sequence. So we heard the request and went ahead and did that for everyone. So for the unlimited walk sequence processing, there's one flat annual price. No minimum fees. You can process any size list. You ultimately will increase your postage discounts and be more competitive in your market. And let's talk briefly about the API-based option. So this is for very, very high volume mailers. You can integrate your walk sequence append from the database level. So it's fully automated. It's easy to incorporate into your current production mail process. No touch, hands-off processing. So you would actually plug this into your system, whether it's a database, CRM system, whatever it may be, and it's going to append the walk sequence data at that level. It's scalable, so if you start out with smaller volumes, work your way up, pricing is solely based on the volume and the processing environment that this would run. And then if you do need help with the actual conceptualization of this concept and the implementation, we have several resources here at Satori to help you do that. We have professional services, sales engineers, product specialists, postal specialists, etc. So a couple next steps. Like I said before, your mailings would either qualify for walk sequence discounts or they would not. And the only way to really find out is to run your list. So I don't know specifically if this is going to be a good fit for every person on the call or maybe just a few people on the call. But the reason we do the free trial is to help you find out. And then if it is valuable for you, if you do see a lot of discounts, we can talk about next steps and adding that onto your system. I would put you in touch with the sales rep at that point because I don't discuss pricing or anything like that. I'm just one of the data nerds here. So the two options are sign up for a free trial. So you can do that locally within your bulk mailer program. Or you can send 3 to 5 lists to us for a savings evaluation, and we'll just run the data for you. So you can email me there, kgregerson@satorisoftware.com, and I'll do that analysis for you. So in 2 hours, you're going to receive a follow-up email that's going to have a link to a short survey. So if you want to do that walk sequence trial, please complete that survey because it's going to ask you. And then I can go ahead and put one of our sales reps in touch with you to do the analysis and get you all squared away. So go ahead and fill out that survey. And also, we just ask for feedback, like if you want other webinar topics or if you have any comments about this webinar, because the webinar series is new for us. So you know, our most valuable asset is our customers, and the more feedback you can give us, the more we can make these webinars valuable for you. So again, we appreciate your time. My information's right there. So if you have questions, go ahead and write down my contact information, call or email me. I'm going to go ahead and open up the call and see what kind of questions Randy got. Randy, you there?
I am. Hello.
Hi.
So I've received one question so far, and that was asked by James, and he was asking if he mails every week on a weekly basis, does he need to walk sequence his list? And then he stated that he's using different lists each week. And so yes, each list that you're going to mail out has to be walk sequenced, and there's a 90-day period that list is good for. So if it's a new mailing, you're going to have to append new walk sequence numbers. But then it'll be good for 90 days after that.
And then I see Sean has his hand raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Sean. See what your question is here. Are you there, Sean?
Sean wants to talk about QR codes, it sounds like. What specifically did you want to talk about the QR codes? Kristen, you want to speak to that a little bit if you can?
You know, I actually don't know much on it. Do you know much about it? That's not really my area of specialty.
Yeah, QR codes are ways that you can obtain, I believe it's a 2% discount from the post office during their summer sale right now. And you can go to our website. There's a wealth of information on our website about it, and you can also create those QR codes in order to import into bulk mailer.
And then Allison, I see you have your hand raised as well, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Are you there, Allison?
Yeah, I just typed in my question.
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and see. Oh, great question. Okay. So Allison asked about how do walk sequence discounts compare to nonprofit discounts. So you actually can still walk sequence a nonprofit mailing, and you save roughly about a penny a piece. So it's not too much on a per piece basis, but it really does add up quickly. So I see a lot of nonprofit mailings that save like 100 to 200 bucks. So Allison, if you do have some of those lists that you're curious about, go ahead and email them to me, and I'll take a look at them for you. Diane, so you asked, can you qualify for high density or saturation mail without doing the walk sequence? In order to get high density or saturation rates, you absolutely must have the walk sequence number. If you already have walk sequence in your mailing, you would not need to append it through our service. But if you do not have the walk sequence number and you try to do a pre-sort with carrier route WS, it's not gonna do anything for you.
Okay, so we're getting a bunch of questions. I'm going to start going down the list here. And so are walk sequence numbers sequential from one, or are they actually location number within the route? And the question, or the answer is yes, they restart over, and it's as you walk down the route, sequential number. Is there a difference in price to sort just by carrier route or carrier route with walk sequence?
Oh, are you talking about line of travel versus high density and saturation rates?
Yeah, I believe that's what they're talking about. And yes, there's 3 different tiers to the carrier route. There's the carrier route basic, which would be the comparable to the automation rates that you'll get, the 5-digit rates, and then you can get the deeper discounts with the high density and the saturation that Kristen was speaking to earlier.
Yeah, so line of travel really is more applicable for periodicals. If you try to do a carrier route line of travel sort on like a standard mail letter mailing, you're actually going to have postage rates that are higher than 5-digit automation. Let's see what else we have.
We're getting questions about the QR codes, and I told Sean that I would follow up with him after that with some documentation and literature on the QR and how you get the discounts and such.
Okay, let's see what else we got here. I know that Bernice has her hand raised. Bernice, I'm going to unmute you and see what question you have. Are you there, Bernice? Okay, Bernice, if you could go ahead and just type your question into the dialog box there, we'll go ahead and read it to the group. Let's see what else we got here.
Allison asked a question, and if only part of the list qualifies for walk sequence, and is it trade differently? And the answer is yes. So the walk sequence pieces will be in the actual carrier routes, drop-off points, or the delivery points, and those will be trade separately. And then any of the automation and non-automation pieces will be trayed together as well by themselves.
Let's see. How long will the offer be to send in lists for evaluation? I'm trying to think. I know we had put time parameter around it. I believe it's just through the end of this month because that's when we're done with all of our summer webinar topics. So just if you could get the list in by the last day of this month, that'd be great. The sooner we do the analysis, though, the sooner we can tell you if you have any savings. Bernice has a question about cost. I actually do not cover the pricing for the modules. Our sales reps can go ahead and do that. So if you are interested in the cost, just email me. But like I said, there's pay-as-you-go. There's a credit-based option and an annual unlimited option. So just drop me an email and I'll forward it to a sales rep. I'm just one of the data nerds. Let's see, what else we have here? One more question I found here. Karen asked, can I add high density and saturation with walk sequence for additional savings? So the walk sequence number is just going to give you the ability to do the pre-sort for high density and saturation. So you actually need that specific walk sequence number on each address in order to do the refined sort. So the sort is going to find out how many of your pieces go into each route, and then if you have enough pieces, if you meet that threshold of 125 pieces or more for high density or 70% of a carrier route for saturation, then you will see the extra discounts. Now we do all of that on the back end, so really once you get the walk sequence data, all you have to do is rerun the pre-sort, and that will tell you if you qualify or not. Karen mentioned that they're a nonprofit school district. They mail to parents. They currently use automation. So I think it's worth at least analyzing those lists, Karen, because I have seen several school districts in which their mailings qualify because they're mailing to such a dense area. So if you would like me to take a look at those, we can just run them and see.
And did we address Matthew's question? Matthew asked, what information needs to be on the address block for walk sequence, and what is the specific format that needs to be on the endorsement line? And the answer is bulk mailer will take care of that for you. The endorsement line is required, and it will have the correct code depending on which discount that you were able to qualify for, whether it be saturation or high density.
And then Allison asked if bulk mailer is capable of EDDM or is it a plugin? And bulk mailer actually is not compatible with EDDM right now. You just need to get your list of postal routes from the USPS, and then the paperwork has to be done manually. And then someone asked, what are periodicals? Give a couple of examples. So periodicals are newspapers. And Randy, don't you have to have a specific permit from the post office to do periodicals?
That's correct. Yes, you do.
Yeah. Do you see any more questions there?
I think that's all of them that I can see. I mean, unless somebody else has any other questions or we skipped somebody, please let us know.
Let me see if there's any more. Yeah, so like I mentioned, in a couple hours you're going to get a follow-up email that has a link to the survey. So if you want to do the walk sequence evaluation, just note that in the survey, and then your account representative will get in touch with you. If you have any more questions, either on the technical side or about just processing some sample lists, email me there, kgregerson@satorisoftware.com, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I hope to see you guys on more of our future webinars. We do have a couple more topics this month, so if you haven't taken a look at those, I can send you the link. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.